jump right into this chat from the deep. I don't need my music up for that. Just need my intro. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Chat from the Deep, our weekly live stream post-session discussion. We talk about what just happened during D&D. This is the chat for session 54. So if you've not watched that session yet, please go to that because there will be spoilers. I'm your DM, Eric. And joining me, we have Gottwald's player, Chris.
Hello.
And Max player, Raymond, will be joining us at some point, possibly. So we're still doing this particular dungeon area, which I think I'm going to mention this before, but this area is called Purple Rocks, this kind of Kraken Society island chain.
Okay.
And the initial village is on one island, and then you're supposed to go to this other island, which is a much creepier island and is more aggressive and hostile. And then there's this tower with this dungeon underneath it is in that location. I just combined them all into kind of one area just to simplify things.
Yeah. We just travel to the tower.
Yeah, and then right? I talked about this one last week where I changed a lot of the inside of it and changed it from a Lovecraftian shrine into a
right,
the Mind Flayer like laboratory thing.
Yeah.
So in the book, it's it does have a guardian here. It's a Shoggoth, which is a creature used in Cthulhu mythology a lot. It's just kind of
that sounds familiar.
It's some hideous like Lovecraftian thing, aberration thing. Again, keeping with that theme, which I was replacing, so I was like, well, I need to change that. And Call from the Deep actually does use this Brain Golem stat block, which is one stat block. And then there's another one, which is what this token is from, called the Eater of Knowledge, which is from the Planescape adventure, which released, I think a year or two ago, with the actual official, like, whatever it's called, Planescape thing for 5e. So what I did is I took those two stat blocks and then kind of came up with a slightly modified stat block out of those.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I like the idea of, and I knew you were going to face this by itself, so I was like, well, we got to give it something interesting it can do besides sitting there and punch people. First of all, I was going through different kinds of creatures too. I was like, maybe I want to put some kind of like, different Mind Flayer type creatures in here, and I was looking at some kind of like spellcastery stuff, but I was like, this is a very tight, small hallway. Like any spellcaster is going to get annihilated pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So I kept the brutish brain golem thing, and I liked that idea. But then I was like, well, the Eater of Knowledge from Planescape has these like spells it can cast, but they're just regular like, oh, it can cast, a spell as its action. I was like, well, that's going to be awkward if it's just casting like crowd control spells and they make the save that nothing happens that round. So I'm like, all right, well, let's change it to give it basically either like effectively a layer action here, right? Or initiative 20, a thing happens. Let's just let it cast one of these kind of psychic spells as a layer action. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts about that, because that I think makes it a lot more interesting, where it can do those crowd control things without that being its action and still frees up its action to be able to do other things, even though it ended up missing with most of its attacks. I know you were on the receiving end of a lot of the mental stuff, but
I wasn't salty about it. I feel like it was I don't know. Maybe because it was that's kind of all that was going on. And I also didn't terribly feel stun locked. It kind of felt like I had options, at each turn, and or my teammates had options to get me out of it. Like I said, at some point, like it was weird to me. Not weird, but I was like realizing that like you had like 3 or 4 different like mindfuck spells.
Yeah.
And each of them had a different exit state.
Yeah.
Like each of them had a different condition.
I don't think that was on purpose. When I picked them, I was just picking ones that were like different enough but they were still like the same concept of like it's doing some kind of psychic crowd control effect on you. But now when you mentioned it in the stream, I was like, oh yeah, they are kind of all have different things going on around them.
Right. It's like the one that like I had to make the save. Okay, that's one, and then I forget what the second one was. Then the third one was like, okay, now you can't make a save. Now someone has to actually attack you, or Which so I kind of found that interesting. Where it's like, oh, like it's the same idea, but like different iterations of the idea on each turn, basically, because each turn he's doing a different spell.
Yeah, so that helped me as a DM making this fight more dynamic is helping my action economy and being like, all right, well, if it's going to be a boss fight by itself, it has to be able to do things that's not just on its turn. So I can go ahead and tell you, had this thing been able to hit with both attacks, that's where its actual true abilities go off. If it hits with both of its slam attacks, it grapples you, and then you have to make an intelligence save or be stunned, which is real bad. Yeah.
Okay.
And then it can try to basically pull your brains out through your nose if it has you stunned in its arms, which is also bad.
You never did get to use
it. I know, yeah.
Like, nose thing,
so that's how it uses it. It literally has to like hit you with both attacks, and then you're grappled. Then you get to make a save, but it's an intelligence save. If you fail that, you're stunned. And then on its next turn, it could possibly use its like giant like extract fucking brain ability, like Starship Troopers, like, you know, kind of a thing coming out.
So you combined two different creatures, but where's the actually the art from?
It's from
it's a nice token.
It is. It's from the Planescape one. It's called in Planescape. It's called the Eater of Knowledge.
Okay.
So the Planescape version is slightly weaker physically, and then its ability is that basically every time it kills somebody, it consumes a brain or whatever, it gains another like it unlocks another spell it can cast. It's a creature with its own like skill tree.
Okay.
And of course the spells get stronger as it consumes more brains, and you're supposed to, as a DM, whenever it's first encountered, you roll a 1d10 to determine like how many brains it has. So I took inspiration from that, going, okay, well, it has access to some of these spells, and that's what I'm gonna use for its spellcasting ability for and then I added the I think I might have added the advantage. It already had advantage on magic resistance, which I don't think ever actually came into play. I added the advantage on concentration saving throws. I'm like, that's a fucking good thing to add for a creature that's literally built to concentrate.
Yeah, again, because he's the only thing going on, so it doesn't make some sense. Like, okay, it's gonna take
if you built a creature designed to like do crowd control abilities, I feel like that would be thematic. I'm like literally covered in brains.
Yeah.
And I also, and I'm glad I got to use this, because I thought, like, I had it at stat block where it's on initiative 20, it casts one of the following spells. But then I realized there is a chance it could be still concentrating on one of its spells. And obviously it would be smart enough to not do that, but that feels weird. It just wouldn't be able to use that feature because they're all concentrated. So I added the effect that if it's still concentrating on a spell by the time it's initiative 20 again, it instead gains a temporary hit point. So it's like getting a buffer shield by having that concentration on there. So essentially, it's a lot of what I like about creature design. I took like existing creatures and then just kind of modified and tweaked them and gave him extra hit points. He had a total of, I think, 150 that you guys burned through. Yeah, 150 at the end. Only AC of 15. Obviously not too hard to hit. You guys were knocking around left and right. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it sounds like it was mostly a original creature designed by you, taking pieces and putting them together.
Yeah,
I think it's a really interesting boss fight. Yeah. Or I don't know if it felt like a full boss fight, like just because there's no minions.
Right. Yeah, and that was definitely that's why I use the term mini boss fight. It was like it's basically
just a mini boss fight.
Basically a tough creature designed to be kind of scary for you guys to fight. Especially because not only were you down, which I know you're gonna be down, Reese, going into tonight. I thought even about putting its hit points lower. But I was like, let's just see how they do. But also, Sovereign didn't join the fight till like 3 rounds later. It was literally just you and Mac fighting this thing. So you guys,
we just kind of got lucky. Where like it wasn't able to I was able to stay with it. It wasn't able to, because if it had been able to attack Mac had,
honestly, the first round Mac hit it with a poison arrow and it failed to save, and then it had disadvantage on those first 2 attacks. It would have hit you,
2 attacks,
and then it would have grappled and forced you to be stunned.
Oh shit!
I know.
Yeah,
so that was fucking a clutch move. There was a lot of little
I
bits
didn't
of
realize how much the poison was saving my life at the time.
Yep, there was a lot of little back and forth about that, and then like I'd do something for you, and then you'd get out of it, and then
right. I that's kind of what was fun for me about the fight, was it really did kind of feel like a dance. Like it was kind of a back and forth. Like he has the advantage. Now I've got the advantage. Now he's got the advantage again. And now Max got the advantage.
But I like Ray. I like the way you role played your character being like rattled basically by the last fight you had, and the fact that you were low on hit points, and you're just like, I'm just gonna stay back because I know you like to get up there and actually do the scimitar of speed, where you're like, no, I'm gonna be, even with the disadvantage, the prone, I'm gonna be back here shooting this thing from afar. Which you could also see it doing psychic effects. You probably at this point in your adventuring career would know a lot of those are AoE attacks. So that was the other interesting way that it balanced. Even though you guys were a split party, it really only hit Gottwald except for that last turn whenever Sombra got there. Like all of those AO except for telekinesis, but Confusion, Hypnotic Pattern are both AoEs. Like it was going to try to hit all of you guys with a crowd control effect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was trying to definitely play that PTSD that I got.
Yeah.
Going down.
That's true. Yeah, I liked it. Yeah, in fact, that would have been the primary use of Hypnotic Pattern would be if I could nail several people with it and then knock somebody out of it by hitting them, but then the other people are still locked in the Hypnotic Pattern. By just doing you, it was kind of awkward. It's like, oh yeah, but if I hit you, then this. So I was like, let's take the dodge action, and then he gets his hit points, and then just gonna shove him back, and like, just make things interesting. And then the brown mold that Sabra had to deal with was already written in the adventure, so that was cool because that's
is that a fight she could have done? I'm not.
It's not a fight. It's more. It's kind of like a trap or environmental hazard, I guess, which we haven't really encountered too much of. But it's one of those that's like in the Dungeon Master's Guide as being like, hey, this is just one of those like weird effects that you could have in a dungeon, which is not magic. It never says. So
there was no way for her to like beat the mold. It was just like the best she could have done was what she did was like just get the items out of there.
So weirdly, you have to deal cold damage to it.
Okay.
Because it absorbs heat and gives off
absorbing
cold.
The heat, so it needs.
Yeah, you got to do a little bit of science there. So if you do cold damage to it, it's instantly destroyed.
Interesting. Okay.
I did like that. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And I did love the fact that she did the thing where it's like, oh, you did it with fire. And it specifically says like it. What does it say? It's immune to fire. Any source of fire brought within 5 feet of a patch causes it to instantly expand outward in the direction of the fire, covering a 10-foot square area with the source of the fire at the center of the area. So it literally does that thing where it just like explodes outward.
It just spread like mold, immediate mold. Yeah.
So that was pretty nifty.
That is cool.
That was funny that she noped out of there and then she went around. She's like, "All right, I'm
then
back interested again."
Yep. Did we explore 100% of it? Because I didn't see the whole northern half of this place.
Yeah, that was.
So did we miss anything? Did we skip anything?
No, I think we did everything. I mean, technically, go ahead.
What's up with that healing fountain? The healing fountain got a long rest. Did you?
Yeah,
was that in the book?
Thing where
yes,
the pods.
Right. Yes, it's literally a restoration pod. In fact, I think that one is not there, but I put it there. So there are restoration pods later, I guess, in this information. Obviously, you could probably surmise there's gonna be mind flare shit going on. So you'll find these later on as well, and I put one here to have this creature be like in something, basically have it be like a guard post. But I was like, this is kind of should be a kind of crazy, creepy, sciencey thing going on. But then also, I just thought it'd be good timing, like going into this new area, and this prevents you from having to do that awkward thing of like, well, let's backtrack all the way to the place and rest, and then come back all the way here. Why not give them a chance to just long rest using the pod here? So the restoration pods do exist in this adventure, but I put one here that you guys can use as kind of a nice transition to the next dungeon, I guess.
Okay, yeah.
I'm not going to complain about it, but it did seem a little too easy to get rid of those lingering injuries.
You guys have had those for a long time, at least some of them. And that part I did add, but I did add that in my notes you had to make a intelligence save or a con saving throw to get rid of them. True. And then Sabra came and rolled like a 25 or something on the Arcana. So I was like, all right, let's just have her like instantly, which I think it's fun too for your characters to roll, a check and have it be figuring that stuff. This kind of Sabra's really been like all of this dungeon, which is kind of neat because she's the sciencey like lab mad scientist person.
Right. Yeah.
So I was actually okay with her just like figuring that out and then programming the restoration pod to heal you guys. I was originally gonna have it. Oh, you can only hear one lingering injury, but I was like, you know what? Fuck it. You guys can be a clean slate. Going to the final area. Now, any new lingering injuries you get, you're probably going to be saddled with, but at least for now, this is the classic, JRPG save point right before a big thing going on. Just go ahead and use the tent. Is it Final Fantasy?
Didn't Baldur's Gate 3 even have that where you would come across the pods that would just completely 100% heal you before a door? It's okay, well.
Yeah, which is definitely what I was thinking here. In the book, it says that you have to make a con save to get the benefits of the long rest. and if you fail, you instead get a level of exhaustion.
Oh no!
I know, and I was like, that seems so bad.
Yeah.
So I was definitely okay. And plus, it's nice just to, like, at the end of this little mini dungeon crawl, going into another dungeon crawl, like, hey, let's get refreshed for it.
Yeah.
So I knew going into it, we didn't have that
appreciate
much left to do for this dungeon. It was kind of awkward. It was like, we've got this like little storage room we can explore with that one little trap hazard. Then we've got this one little mini boss fight, and then this empty bedroom here, and that's basically just the tunnel to the next area. So I was thinking like, well, I may let them get a little bit further and then kind of end it on a more exciting cliffhanger and then go from there. But again, with Reese being out especially, because I could play with his connection that he's got and his character.
Oh yeah.
I definitely don't want him to miss any of that. So.
Yep.
And we've got a week break, so I think that's more good to leave it as a full end and then go into
I think so too. I feel like going into the next area, like I said, like going into the darkness and
into the darkness.
what's in there, and then there's an extended break. I feel like that's more narratively satisfying.
Yeah. I did have to remind you guys.
It actually, in hindsight, looking at it, like we made like steps of progress because like we were in the same dungeon. I went one room over, fought that thing, and then we left. I mean, Sabra covered a little bit more ground, but
yeah, no, I liked it. I liked the
way
it
was almost like we were dealing with the consequences of last week.
Right. Yeah, with still being split up from that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get the only thing you guys technically could have done in this room was in the control room they had options to purge, open, and clean. If you clean and you're in the tube room, you have to fight the cube. If you open some of the tanks, you could possibly have to fight some more of those mutant type creatures. Basically, I actually had like stat blocks and all those things ready for it.
Yeah,
with the confidence that you guys weren't gonna open those manually, but.
Right.
Like who knows what players are going to do. So, but I think I mentioned this last week where I didn't have any intention of having the creatures like bust out and attack, which is something that probably usually happens when you see rows of creatures inside tubes.
Yeah.
But they were active stat block like tokens on there that definitely could have been added in there, I guess.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, otherwise we are. I mean, I've kind of been saying we're in the end game for a while now. We've been pretty linear mode since we got to probably tackling the Black Armada section in Tentrix's lair. But this is we're definitely entering the like final area. But it's a big one.
Nice.
Anything else about this area?
Again, kudos on the monster. It was a cool monster.
I was gonna say I had to remind you guys to take the head because I did want you guys to have the ability to.
I legit misunderstood that. I thought it was like I thought it was like you plugged the. I thought the head was attached to some like mechanism that was like animating it, but when you explained like it's the head itself that is the mechanism, it's like you can take it. That's
Yeah, and I was definitely as a DM being more forthcoming about that because I was like, this is something I want you guys to have access to basically, and it will help you. With intel in the area to come is be able to like track these devices basically as you go and have essentially the equivalent of an item that's like locate object constantly on, I guess.
Right.
And that'll help give you a quest objective for the next area.
Yep. A pinger.
The purge option releases basically like a poison cloud into the tube. The problem is whenever they experimented with it last week, they did it on like a tube that already had a dead body in it. So I guess they thought purge might have been like, I don't know, it goes down a disposal or something. There's nothing like the disposal is you open it and the body sloshes out. So I guess what they do, I'm literally trying to come up with like a logical thing. I guess if the experiment goes wrong, they can purge the creature, which releases a toxin, and then they can open it, and then they release the cube to then swallow the creature. But I did have my notes in there about, okay, if they select purge on this tube, this creature spends a couple rounds like waking up, and then this creature dies, but this one might be able to bust out, but this one will be at half hit points. Like I did kind of try to spend some notes in there to figure it out in case you guys really went into the weeds of like experimenting with this thing.
Right.
But it was all purely like, optional shit. Like there was nothing, with those 2B creatures. Like the one interesting one was obviously the one that escaped that you could fight, and that was the way stronger stat block too. Yeah. So, alas, you'll never know. all the work of the stat blocks that we put into those twos to make it. All right, and like I said, we are out next week. No, I will be doing my Monday crafting stream still, I believe, and then I'm still gonna get out hopefully the next class video. Which, by the way, if you haven't seen the Ranger video that just came out this week, go check that out because I've got a lot to say about the Ranger in 2024, and we're getting a lot of feedback and comments and a lot of good discussions actually.
I've seen it,
which YouTube is not good.
I'm already thinking like, I also saw your monk video. Have you done a monk video?
Yes.
Monk already?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm doing alphabetically, so I'm down to Ranger now.
Okay. Yeah. Because I remember thinking at some point, like, man, because monk has a shadow subclass, and now Ranger has a shadow subclass. Like, you put do a what do you call it? Multi-class and just become a fucking ninja. Just all darkness, just hiding in shadows, just all that shit.
That could be cool. Yeah, I'll try to put that one out. And then we did the patron game just last night, which is why I'm so tired tonight. And I will obviously get that uploaded, which will be good timing while we're on break for the second half of the week. And then we'll come back and do our Friday show on the 6th. All right, that'll do it for this week's Chat from the Deep. Thank you to Chris and Raymond. Thank you to all the wonderful fans for watching, and we will see you all in 2 weeks.
See you then.